Hello everyone, it's 1 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started with a webinar. I'm Erin Kopek, the Marketing Coordinator with Extra Help. Thank you for joining us today. Our webinar today is going to talk about why you need automated timekeeping, and it's going to be presented by Barbara Campbell, which will be introduced momentarily. Our Workplace Excellent webinars are an exciting new program that Extra Help clients and colleagues get to take advantage of. A few things before we begin. This call will last about an hour. You are in listen-only mode, so if you do have questions, at the very bottom of your screen you will see a questions toolbar. Feel free to type in the questions and we can address those at the end. So let's get started. Barbara Campbell from Swipe Clock has worked over 20 years in technology and software industry. She began her technology career in technical support for an accounting software program, which included payroll. She has traveled extensively throughout the United States, implementing and training on various software programs. She has worked with companies such as Sony, BMG Music, Warner Brothers, Avalon Natural Products, and Alpha Graphics. She currently is an account manager for Swipe Clock Time and Attendance, headquartered in Utah. She loves teaching and empowering others. So thank you for joining us today, Barbara. If you want to go ahead and get started, I will give you control.
Thank you, Erin.
And you should be able to click through.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Erin. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining today's webinar. Again, my name is Barbara, and I'm going to be presenting today's topic, why you need automated timekeeping. What I'm going to cover with you today is why automated timekeeping is important, what are the benefits and cost savings of automated timekeeping, what tools are available for the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, or I'm going to refer to it as PPACA throughout this presentation, why automated timekeeping matters for the PPACA, tools and reporting. Then at the conclusion, as Erin mentioned, I will address any questions that you might have along the way. So as I am touching on certain topics, feel free, submit those questions. Okay, so let's get started. And what I'm about to do is start or begin with a quick pop quiz. The quiz is, what does a moose have to do with timekeeping? Those of you who said nothing, excellent, you get an A. The moose doesn't care about time, but you should. I, of course, wanted to put this picture up just because it's amazing to be walking side by side with a moose in nature and frankly live to tell about it. So I'm happy to be here to talk with you all today. So let's go ahead, drill down in why automated timekeeping is important. I have put together about 8 reasons why automated timekeeping is important, and so we'll just kind of touch on each one of those. First of all, you're able to cut and control your cost. You obviously know labor is not cheap. In fact, it's typically the largest expense on your books. Unless, of course, you have leased office space in downtown Manhattan in Trump Towers, then perhaps your rental expense might exceed your labor costs. So it's important to be able to control and manage those costs because it does directly impact your company's bottom line. Reduce the time to process your payrolls. And the statement, time is money, holds true, obviously, for this reason. How long does it take to process payroll, and how much is it actually costing you? Eliminate your estimated punch times. This is something, obviously, that employees may write down their hours each pay period, and it is costing you money. But how? I'll actually break that down a little bit further here in a few minutes. compliance with the Department of Labor. Unfortunately, employee labor disputes have increased since the economy took a nosedive back in 2009. Many employers eliminated jobs, but not the workloads. Minimize your payroll errors. If there are humans involved, there will be errors. Even computers, or I should say software, can make an error or a mistake, but that's because software was written by a human. So suffice it to say, we all make mistakes. Streamline your end-to-end payroll processes. So with just a few clicks, you can streamline the payroll process and be more efficient. Prevent costly buddy punching. With the use of either a biometric or hand reader clock, you can eliminate the chance of another employee clocking in or out for their buddy. Unless, of course, they cut their buddy's finger off. Oh, ouch, that actually hurt a little. Lastly, increase employees' accountability and productivity. I wonder if putting a time clock in my house would make my children more productive. It's a thought. So those are my 8 compelling and great reasons why automated timekeeping is important. I had mentioned how important it was to eliminate estimated hours. So let's take a look at the hard numbers and cost savings. Let's meet Doug. Doug looks like a sharp and responsible employee, but when Doug works, he will write down, well, when Doug works, he actually works from 9:04 a.m. until 4:46 p.m. But he enters 9 to 5. On his time card, we're looking at a difference of 8 minutes at a rate of $11 an hour. It's only 8 minutes. What's the big deal? Let's break it down. If you have 5 Dougs approximating their time cards each day, the cost of your overpaid minutes are $153.33. And the cost, $104.50 to prepare time cards manually, which is the clerical wages at $15 an hour, the human error factor of 1%. That's $257.83 each and every month. So, what's the big deal? The big deal is $3,093 annually. Who can't use $3,000 to put back in and build their business? So that's the big deal. So let's now look at what are some of the features that we have available within timekeeping. There is an employee self-service portal that will allow employees to be able to go in, view their time card or their schedules, request time off. The schedules can be set up to show which employees are scheduled for specific shifts. There's the employee time off request that they can request vacation or other personal time. We present a dashboard view. There are electronic time card approvals. This is a 3-tiered approval process. Employee accruals can be tracked and set up. What's nice is it gives the supervisors visibility into whether or not an employee actually has any hours to take off before they approve the time off request. Finalize Pay Period will actually lock down the time cards, keeping it in sync with the payroll system. We have employee groups for easy access and filtering within reports and other areas of the software. Labor allocation will allow you to be able to capture a specific job or department or location and then allocate those employees' hours to whatever labor code you have set up. Our processing rules are used to actually customize and tailor our timekeeping system to your specific needs. We have automated overtime calculations and tracking. There's an hours alert. This is going to be talked about a little bit in more detail as we move along. It directly will affect and impact the PPACA, along with our work week and month PPACA reports. So let's drill down a little bit more into these features. So employee self-service, when employees log in, they will be presented with a dashboard. At the top, or in the right frame of the dashboard, there is actually an announcements section. In my little announcements section, it is something that's been set up by a manager that says, please approve your time cards today. Payroll will be processed on the 2nd. The announcements could include announcing a company party or the Christmas party. So employees can get updates on critical information. I think a party is critical to be updated on, and it can be set up easily within the system. The statistics section are just quick links that would show you how many missing punches you might have, how many hours you've worked, so on and so forth. Down the left frame, these are options where the employee can go in, look at and view their time cards, schedules, and request time off. So we'll go into that a little bit further. The employee's time card is set up to where they can actually view their hours that they have clocked in, clocked out, and total hours for each day. They can go to previous pay periods, next pay periods, and they can also print off their time card. At the very bottom, we break out and allocate how many regular hours and or if there are any overtime hours. And lastly, you'll see the sick and vacation accrued hours for this particular employee and whether or not they have any planned time off. Now, under each date on the time card, there is a little pencil that will include the ability, and this is optional, of whether or not you want employees to be able to add a note to a time card. So, as an example, I come into work late and I forget to clock in. I can add a note, let my supervisor know I was late, I had a flat tire, and I arrived at 10 a.m. So that's one example of a way to be able to communicate just through time cards to the supervisors and employees. The employee schedules can be set up and different schedules can be created and assigned to employees. You can schedule time off and add hours for, again, vacation, holiday, salary hours. Employee time off requests are again used for when an employee wants to take time off. This request approvals process will send an email to the assigned supervisor. Once the supervisor has received the notice that there is a pending time off request, then the supervisor can go in and then either accept or decline the particular request. The employees are also able to view any requested time off history that they have had in the past. When the client or supervisor logs into the actual timekeeping system, now we're looking at their view and things from their perspective. They too would be presented with a welcome dashboard. They have an area of some quick stats, see who has missing punches, how many total active employees, and who is currently clocked in. There are some quick links that take them to different areas of the program that are more commonly used. The employee's time card from a supervisor or a manager's perspective is a little bit different because now you're going to see that there are columns where we can edit and or add any hours. So if an employee is missing hours or missing punches, this is where they would come in and update that employee's time card. On the left pane, you're going to see the list of all the employees and a column in red indicating these employees have missing punches. The column in yellow with the A, that is for the electronic time card approvals process. I'll talk about that here in a few moments. There are also punch notes that can be that will be presented on the time card as well. Again, you see the pencil, and we are tracking from an audit log perspective any changes and who made those changes and at what time those changes were made to any of the employees' time cards. So the time card approval process, as I mentioned, are 3 levels. So it can be set up where an employee needs to log in and approve their time. Then a supervisor would go in and approve that employee's time. And a 3rd level would be management or a payroll service bureau approving all hours to finalize that particular pay period. So you can approve a pay period or 1 day at a time. Once an approval has taken place by any one of the 3, supervisor, employee, or management, the little icon turns from yellow to green, indicating we're good to go. The time off request approvals feature is again seen by a supervisor or manager, and it will indicate the requested time off, date, employee, what type of time off they've requested, and if accruals are set up and being tracked, they would be able to see whether or not that employee indeed has accrued time to be taken. The supervisor can certainly determine whether or not they want to grant it if they do not have the hours. So you'll notice the column, they can either reject the request or approve the request. If employees have email and access to email, then that request, once approved or rejected, would be emailed back to the employee. Employee accruals, again, are typically maintained and set up within a payroll software. But for, again, certain supervisors, they may not have visibility to know whether or not there are any hours to grant the time off. So this can be set up within our system to track. It is optional. Finalize Pay Period feature will ensure that the time card hours are in sync with the payroll hours. So you would go in, finalize the pay period. Once the Payroll Service Bureau has indicated that payroll has been run, and should an employee come back to you after they get their paycheck and say, you didn't pay me for my 4 hours of sick time, then you have an option to unfinalize the pay period and then make any edits or changes to it. And then once that has been done, you finalize it to lock it down. That way, no edits can be made. The employee groups will organize and group employees together, like I mentioned, for easy filtering and selection within reports. There are 2 types of employee groups. We have a list group or a smart group. A list group would be selecting from a list of employees. So in my example below, you'll see who's in the group with little check marks next to those employees' names who belong to that group. Then below that, include which employees shows an example of how you just would select John's group and can run a report that would only include those employees you selected within his list group. The smart group, on the other hand, is a set of criteria options that will pull based on data within the employee setup. The criteria for smart groups actually makes it a little bit more flexible in creating different types of groups. Labor tracking and allocation, as I mentioned, would be for setting up various labor codes. So if you want to capture hours based on a job that an employee works, or a department or location, you could set up the 3 different labor allocations for tracking that. So my example below, we have a restaurant. An employee may work as in the kitchen and or might be a hostess or at a different location at a different restaurant. Processing rules are set up for, like I mentioned, customizations in the way and how you want to track your timekeeping. So some of those rules would be the accruals, our timecard approvals, how to handle hours based on those employees who cross over midnight, so either split shifts. We have a tomorrow rule and yesterday rule, which indicate how or where those hours should fall. And then obviously in setting up overtime, and there are several others. So what tools are available for PPACA? Well, obviously employers are impacted by PPACA, and under the PPACA, employers with 50 or more full-time equivalent employees, or what they're calling FTEs, are required to offer health benefits to employees averaging at least 30 hours of work per week. If the employer does not offer any health benefits, they're required to pay an annual penalty and it is referred to as the pay or play provision. It's effective for the planned years beginning on or after January 1st, 2014. In order to comply with the pay or play provision, employers need to determine the size of their company and whether they have 50 plus full-time equivalent employees or not. So having the tools available to determining your status is critical. One of those tools would be our hours alert. The hours alert is used to track employee hours when they are close to reaching a set amount of hours in a work week. And it would add an alert message on the employee's time card and within our daily auto email report of that they are about to hit a certain threshold of hours. So that way they can determine whether or not they want an employee to come in and work the next day or only work a couple of hours. Our work week report is for tracking and capturing the hours for a selected time period for all selected employees. A work month report is set up again for tracking, capturing hours for the look back period. So the look back period is used to determine if an employee is full-time or not by using a period in time determined by the employer, which is no longer than 12 months and no shorter than 3 consecutive months. So with the hours alert, what we would do is set up the maximum amount of hours and a threshold for a message to appear. So an example, it would say, remind me in 12 hours before the employee reaches those maximum hours. And on a time card, you'll notice down below the little blue exclamation point. And to the far right, it's showing me on each day how many more hours until they reach that threshold. So this can be configured to track either only your overtime eligible or all hours. The alert message, like I mentioned, would be displayed on a time card or on the daily auto email report. Work week and work month reporting for PPACA will ensure that your records are reliable and easily obtained. It includes all hours except unpaid hours. There's an option to select the exact pay categories to be included in the report. You're able to track all of your seasonal employees. Salaried employees can be turned on and off, so it doesn't make it necessary to track the salaried hours on a time card. I'm going to jump back because I think I skipped over my... I didn't skip over my work week and work month report. There it is. Okay, so the work week report, as an example here, will show the total hours for each employee, and it is broken out by the full-time and the full-time equivalent. Your non-full-time employees, and it's based on a weekly average of hours worked. The work month report, that's broken out the same way, full-time, full-time equivalent, and non-full-time employees for a month period, and also this is helpful for your look-back period. So why does automated timekeeping matter for PPA-CA? Automated timekeeping is a smart cost savings, time savings option for employers as it is now. But you're going to need to be able to track and capture employees' hours for the look-back period. The hours of service need to equal the number of employees, and the service hours include both work time and paid non-work time, such as vacation, sick, and holiday time. So this makes calculating the service hours easier. The IRS will audit and check your records. There must be consistent monitoring of your employees' hours. And most importantly, it ensures that your records are reliable and easily obtained. It may or may not be too surprising that since this past June, there have already been some changes to the PPA-CA. I'm just going to take a guess, go out on a very skinny limb here, that there might be more changes to come. If and or when those changes occur, we will have the necessary tools and reports available through our timekeeping system. So to complete today's webinar, I want to review some of the exclusive reports we have, and I also want to make mention, if you do happen to have additional questions regarding the PPA-CA, the wonderful folks at Extra Help will be able to assist you in more detail. So let's just cover the reports that we have. First one being an accruals report, so we're able to track and provide the historical hours that have been used. Our approvals report would show, as you quickly drill down into the employees' time cards, who have been approved and who have not been approved. Our approvals process does not prevent you, however, from still processing payroll if someone has not approved a time card. Just want to make that note. We have an audit log report, which obviously is displaying any changes that have been made to a time card. The daily auto email report is a report that is automatically emailed out to managers, supervisors from the previous day employee activities. Our detail report will break down employee hours in detail, punch by punch. There's a labor code report for being able to capture and subtotal by various jobs or departments that are worked. And this report actually has user selectable fields. Our punch notes report would show all of the notes that have been entered in on a time card. And then the time off report will report on all the employee time off requests that have been entered and whether or not it was in a pending or a approved or denied status. The summary report reports total hours and earnings for each employee broken down by category. So I want to thank the folks at Extra Help for giving me the opportunity to present why you need automated timekeeping to you today. It's been a pleasure to spend this time with you. So now let's open up the phone lines for anyone who might have any questions.
All right. I do not see any questions down at the bottom of the screen, so we can take another minute. If you have anything, feel free to type in that question form, and we can get those answered for you here. All right, that ends our presentation. So thank you, Barbara, for joining us today and providing us with that great information. If anybody wants to follow up on some questions, feel free to email me at ekopec, that's EKOPEC, at extrahelpinc.com, and I can direct you to who you would need to speak with to get some questions answered. Appreciation for attending today, and please join us for our next webinar on Thursday, September 19th at 1 o'clock, and you'll receive the invitation in your email. Thank you.